No matter how much I'm sure they'll try to insist that the results are the results and vaccines cause autism, but the fact remains that Wakefield was in it for his own profit. The next portion covered in the documentary focuses on the research behind his revolution.
Okay, so we are seeing something that we didn't get from Hbomberguy's tweet, right? She's mentioned the documentary.
Vaccine that he made, and yet the process Wakefield goes through is convoluted to say the least. He injected mice with measles, extracted their white blood cells, freezes them, thaws them, mixes these with human cells, and injected the stuff into pregnant goats. And I just, I'm sorry, what? I'm no scientist here, but that doesn't even sound right to me. Of course, Brian did get someone to go over this process, Professor Rick Blumberg, an immunologist. And guys, I know I said this whole documentary is horrifying. Believe me, it is. It's a great watch, but it is horrifying. But there was nothing funnier in the whole thing than seeing this man look over the research, take a deep breath, and just go,
I don't know what they're looking at.
Brian asks,
does all this seem somewhat strange to you?
In a word, yes.
However, Wakefield didn't do this all alone. No, there was a joint inventor on these products, a man named Hbomberguy, a former immunologist who has been long controversial. In 19...
So we're starting, yeah. So this is the part where she shows, yeah, I did cite it, right? Yo, you know what? I feel like there were some missed opportunities in Blair's response video. Like, right? She's acknowledging, she's talking about the documentary. Like, right? That's, you know, this is the quote. She mentions the documentary and she cites the documentary, but she doesn't indicate when she is directly quoting or paraphrasing word from word from the document. And her excuse for that was that it's not very compelling to have, it's more compelling to have B-roll or footage on screen than it is to have like a words showing that it's a quote from something.
1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
Okay, so that part is quoted from the lawsuit with the FDA. What we're seeing here, I think, is the we're seeing the documentary itself based on, okay, this is just me doing some ad hoc detective work here, but this looks like that she's added this citation, right? So this part is cited. You know, this is an acknowledgement that this phrase comes from the lawsuit.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs. So, what a great partner. That's someone I would definitely want involved in my measles vaccine. Sign me the fuck up. What am I even researching anymore? I need to go give Casper a hug. Where are you? Come here.
Okay, so obviously that part's not from the documentary. So I think Jules, you said it was like what, 9 did it start at 9:29? The Hbomberguy
This seem somewhat strange to you?
In a word, yes.
However, Wakefield didn't do this all alone. No, there was a joint inventor on these products, a man named Hbomberguy, a former immunologist who...
Okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to grab, I think Natalie Marie gave me the Hbomber thread. Let's take a look at this. It's really funny seeing old YouTube videos where they don't try to eliminate every F word, as opposed to me, who's like super careful about like... Okay, so here we go.
Professor Hbomberguy.
Professor Hbomberguy has long been controversial.
A man named Hbomberguy, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
In 1989, he was caught up in a...
Professor Hbomberguy.
Professor Hbomberguy has long been controversial.
A man named Hbomberguy, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
Yeah, it's that like language. I mean, she's not. It's not a word for word there, but like it's. Oh God, it's so close.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit involving the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with blood products.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with.
Oh my God. See, that's the part that's really, like, that's pretty. In 1989, he was caught in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him that he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with the blood products. Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs. What a great partner. Okay, that's where she goes into her own. The documentary is quoting the lawsuit. Yeah, they do quote. Oh, okay, wait, that's iiluminaughtii's video. Wait, let me just see. What is the.
Child patients with blood products.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
Then,
okay, so that's both of them quoting the lawsuit. That phrase right there.
he had to stop injecting his autistic patient, which told him a bizarre lawsuit involving the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic child patients with blood products.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit.
God, like bizarre. Did she? Yeah, this is the thing, and this is what makes me think that she had a researcher who was like, you know, maybe not like, you know, trying to plagiarize, but like. All of this is in quotes in the script. That's the problem, though, is that, like, you don't see a script on... This is where I would have, like, if she felt like the... If she felt like this video said it, Brian Deer's video said it better than she could possibly say it, that's when you gotta put that clip of Brian Deer in there, right? If you feel like there's no better way to say bizarre lawsuit, right? If you need that language, like, right? But what Jules is saying is that her script acknowledges it. So there's an interesting issue, right? This is more nuanced than I think anybody's giving it credit for, in that, like, if you, like, in line in the description, there's a paste bin, am I right, that gives the script of this video. And within the script of the video, this stuff is in quotation marks. So as far as the script goes, this is the correct way of citing that. However, you know, you don't, you know, like the equivalent, I think, of a quotation in terms of a video essay is a clip. And instead of seeing the clip, we're hearing iiluminaughtii, you know, use the same language to describe that. But yeah, that being said, if you go into the script, you can find that this is, you know, quoted from the thing. And then her explanation was like, well, I could have put his words up there and like said from Brian Deer's documentary, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, like, and that would have been, you know, no ambiguity. Like, this is where I'm getting this. I'm getting this language. I'm getting these words. I'm getting these phrases from Brian Deer's documentary. God, I mean, look, like, I don't see like malfeasance here, right? I see, like, you know, negligence and like within the documentary of the document of the video, I see the use of somebody else's language that's not acknowledged in the documentary, but it is acknowledged, like Jules is pointing out, in the script. The issue is that she wasn't clear about the citation or attribution. And again, none of this would have been an issue if not for the legal eagle thing, right? This would have never come up. There would have been no reason for Hbomberguy to make this tweet, right? This never became an issue until, but like, yeah, oh God, this is such an edge case. I'm sure I've seen longer clips. Well, I mean, look, like, I will say that, like, in her video, when we watch the whole video, we do see, like, more discussion about, like, so as far as, like, Brian Deere being taken advantage of, right? I mean, she's doing a lot to shout out his video. She's doing a lot to acknowledge his video, and in fact did indeed put in quotes, like the material that is like lifted from his video. Like, right, this looks like a script oversight, right? And that's still negligent, but it's not malfeasance. It's not, it's not her, let's steal Brian Deere's documentary and no, I'll get away with it. Nobody will ever, like, this isn't her, like, evilly, doing a witch cackle and like, yeah, they'll never know unless Hbomberguy finds it. No, damn. This is more of an edge case than I realized. I didn't notice that once Blair talks on her own, it's a passive voice. The whole video is a retelling of the documentary. Yeah, so that's wow.
With blood products.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre law.
Hbomberguy doesn't like her from beforehand. My impression was that she said it was a style thing and not a mistake. Yeah, there's the problem. There's the problem, right? But
lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting.
I feel like she should have, like, I don't know, like, if I was advising her, as she's making this video on this particular matter, I would say, and did she acknowledge did she acknowledge, like, she acknowledged something, right? Like, she wasn't totally like, I was on the up and up, I did this exactly how it should have been. Like, she acknowledged that there's at least, like, a confusion there. It's through the beginning part before we even started watching that she says specifically, but let's go back to the video, back to this documentary. What did the documentary have to say? It's so it's obvious from the beginning that she was just talking about the documentary. She's like business. She pays researchers. Yeah, so that's what I was saying, Zara, when I said the buck stops with her. It's her name on the signage, right? And, at some point, even if you don't, like, like I don't think that she has to be, like, morally responsible for everything that her team does, but this is where, like, accountability and acknowledgement comes in, and that, like, like, I don't know.
Injecting his autistic patients with blood products.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse and misprescribing of controlled drugs.
Then in 1995, he was suspended from practicing medicine and made to pay a $10,000 fine for his misuse of prescribing controlled drugs.
That's word for word. And, I mean, the only thing that's different there is the emphasis, the like, the accent, I think, on one of the words was different. This was 2 years ago.
Professor Hbomberguy.
Professor Hbomberguy has long been controversial.
A man named Hbomberguy, a former immunologist who has been long controversial.
In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre law.
In 1995, he was suspended from practicing.
Yeah, we watched the whole thing. I mean, like, it is important to, like, I mean, we do get a better context for this. That it doesn't seem like Blair was trying to hide anything here. But, I mean, that's...
has been long controversial. In 1989, he was caught up in a bizarre lawsuit with the Food and Drug Administration, which told him he had to stop injecting his autistic patients with blood products. Then, in 1995, he was suspended from a man who believes that...
Okay. Let's just, like, watch...
Hello, everybody, and welcome...
Let's, like, watch the first 9 minutes. And I really don't think she was malicious. Yeah, I don't think so either. She handled everything. Yeah, there just could have been, like, I don't know. like it is more of an edge case than I gave it credit for. Thanks for like pointing this out, Jules, because
Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blair, or the Illuminati, and today we're going to continue talking about what happened to the man who believes that vaccines cause autism.
wait, is that like what was this like? Okay, October. Yeah, this is like 2.5 years ago.
We've already talked about his history and what led him to making that statement, but
Oh, so this is part 2 in a video about and this whole video, right, is like talking about the documentary. And now this is one of the things that Blair is sometimes criticized for, not in an Hbomberguy sense of like, plagiarism, but like, like it wouldn't just be like it wouldn't just be like a it's not just an issue with Blair. It's an issue with video essayists, right? That video essayists make content that is, repackaging of pre-existing ideas and facts and what have you, right? That's essentially what a video essay is. Right. And like, your focus, might be different. Like there, it shouldn't be a repackaging of a pre-existing like, piece of media, but it may be like a presentation of a topic or concept that's probably been covered, by, documentaries, by a lot of other things, right? It's not generally like a video essay. Unless it's got a really novel like focus, it's not going to be like the first time that anybody's ever covered the subject before. And so because of that, you end up in a situation where it is possible to just kind of repackage pre-existing content. And a lot of video essayists get accused of that, right? Not but and the accusation being that you're producing a product and benefiting from a product that isn't really as novel, but that your audience has no way of knowing that, right? It's like cheese and cheese product, right?
we've still got...
I'm not biggest fan of Legal Eagle fan, but it's very upsetting the way she treated the editor and the way her and her Discord treated a professional inquiry.
A lot of dirt to dig up on Andrew Wakefield. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, I highly recommend that you do that first before continuing here. Also, considering that Wakefield has been sued for libel before, though he eventually dropped the charges or the charges fell through, I'm going to cover my ass here and say that this is my opinion. This video is my opinion that I've formed after
Allegedly. Yeah, it's that whole thing.
Hours of
Disclaimer.
research and fact-checking using reputable sources to do so. It's my opinion, okay? Are we good with that? Cool. All right, let's keep going. So after Wakefield made his statements, we know that ignorant parents desperate for answers started believing.
Like, personally, I would prefer the usage of very basic citations, but again, I feel Bad Empanada has done it in a way that shows just the citation number as it shows up in on a list in the description. Or wait, in his video, he'll put like a footnote in you'll see like a 1, and then you scroll down to 1, and there's the source for that.
Believing that
so if you don't know, like maybe you only know Bad Empanada from his drama videos on his second channel. He has a first channel, right? He was a video essayist before he was a streamer, before he was a drama lord, and it's it's historical documentaries, and even his critics like Xander, even like I heard Xander Hall acknowledge that his documentary style video essays are like on point, and there's some acknowledgement given to them, even by his worst enemies, right? Remember there was a situation where IGN reviewer just copied the review of some small YouTuber. I think it was in a Dead Cells review. It'll be like in the corner somewhere. Okay, yeah. So that's how Bad Empanada solved this issue.
it was vaccines that caused their child's autism. But hey, as long as there's a doctor somewhere, somehow backing up that statement, then it has to be true. Since Wakefield is from the UK, we actually saw some pretty nasty stuff coming out of London. In the year 2000, 2 years after Wakefield's claims, parents that blamed the MMR
Cass Eris has a method with a color code system at the bottom of the corner of her video to see when she's saying her own words and the words. Oh, interesting. I have noticed that. I didn't know that's what that meant. Interesting.
vaccine for triggering autism in their children
There we go. That's the part that Legal Eagle stole. No, just kidding. But that I think that's the effect that was in question with Legal Eagle, right?
to take group action against vaccine manufacturers. I don't really have to explain
one of them, right?
myself how bad this is, but can you imagine what would have happened if they had succeeded? If these parents want vaccine manufacturers to stop providing a literal life-saving, invaluable service to the rest of the population? And yes, their own ignorance, stubbornness, and need to place blame on someone or something for their child's autism is mostly to blame here. But Wakefield only fueled those fires with his study, and he made them feel justified. And it's not, okay? That's
so yeah, like what she's talking about is the phenomenon that you know, it's there's challenges to you know, to raising a child with autism. There's a certain bias that most people, and you know, probably, you know, parents included, have towards what is supposed to be like a normal life. And you know, yeah, it's an ableist thing. It's an ableist conception to think of, you know, when we start to say like a life with, you know, with autism, or a life with a disability is a lesser, like, you know, that's where kind of the ableism creeps in, right? But these parents want to believe that maybe, you know, their kid is not really autistic, and it is X or Y that's making, or not that they're not autistic, but that there's like some cure for it, right? That you can have like a normal kid instead of, right? So that's the medical model, right? We want to fix the patient versus the social model, which says people are born with autism, and the problem is that society is made for neurotypical people. So if we want to address this situation, we need to fix society, right? That's the whole difference between the social and the medical model of disabilities. But because there's this desire out there from parents to want to think that like there is a path to quote unquote fixing their autistic child, you've got all these, like, you know, you've got all these scammers that'll come and say, oh yes, maybe it's, you know, this, maybe it's that. And this case, this Andrew Wakefield guy is selling the notion that it's vaccines. Jackass doctor can kiss my autistic ass. Exactly.
Plain and simple, this is not okay. If these parents spent the same amount of time and devotion working towards managing their child's lifestyle and needs and getting to understand them better, then...
And advocating for them, right? Advocating for society to acknowledge that not everybody is neurotypical, right? That's you know, that would be a more socially modeled, like, you know, mind, like a mindset to, you know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they would be much better off, the parent and child. But if you're diagnosed with some uncurable condition that apparently, you know, some people think is an absolute nightmare, that doesn't give you the right to blow up hospitals and blame the medical community at large, all right? So why does that even have to be said? Now, moving on, you might recognize this name from earlier in part 1, Brian Deere. He's a UK reporter from Channel 4 who did heavy...
Wasn't there a famous celebrity? I feel like there's a few that gave credence to this pseudoscientific view and has kept it up until now. Oh my god, yeah, I think there's some of those natural health endorsing, like, celebrities have... I can't remember who you're talking about, but I there's at least one, yeah, if not more. A very, very large... part of the concept of disorder and disability is kind of just abuse. Is it Jenny McCarthy, joint specialist, says?
Research into this situation. Needless to say, Wakefield didn't like him too much. In 2004, Brian Deere came out with a documentary entitled MMR, What They Did.
Okay, so here we get the, yeah. So maybe, I guess this is the video that concentrates on Brian Deere's documentary. And
didn't tell you. Brian Deere has his own YouTube channel where he uploaded it, but Channel 4 and 2020 Productions were...
So there's a lot of effort being paid here to, like, making sure that like Brian Deere gets, credit and that people are directed towards Brian Deere and his YouTube channel.
Involved with the film as well. And I've got to tell
She's like a MTV star, like a VJ. Right now, there's a class action lawsuit against Tylenol. Parents who took Tylenol while pregnant and had an autistic child can join. I hate that too. I'm not the product of some medication caused birth defect. My brain is just wired a bit differently than most, right? Yeah, and you're taking something that like wasn't acknowledged in the past, and acting like it is a newly emerging phenomenon just because it wasn't, recognized in the past, right? Rather than
tell you that I've seen a lot of documentaries doing research for these deep dives. The Netflix Betting on Zero for Herbalife, The Dark Side of Chocolate for Nestle, documentary series on the Hikikomori